The story begins with a goddess appearing before Sota, joyfully announcing that it had been some time since their last meeting. Sota's face changed as he realized her arrival signaled the return of a familiar event. The goddess, with her long flowing hair, apologized to Sota for repeatedly troubling him. She then shared the reason for her summons, explaining that Sota was fated to join a group led by a princess from a specific kingdom. She further clarified that the people of her world relied on Sota to fight against demons. The goddess promised to give him skills for easy learning and greatly enhanced stats. She also assured him that his previous stats, money, and equipment would be transferred. Additionally, she mentioned that skills like concealment and appraisal, along with related information, would be included. Sota then stated his desire to live as an adventurer this time, not a hero. The goddess quietly acknowledged his choice, noting that he seemed entangled in the situation. She explained that his magic had reacted due to his proximity to 4 others meant to be summoned. Sota agreed to travel to the other world, accepting her offer to start this new adventure. The goddess revealed that this journey would take him to a world 1,000 years after his last visit. Sota, stunned, expressed disbelief at the immense time gap. The goddess noted that in this world, no one would recognize him, and it would differ from the world he knew before. She warned him not to ask her for more details, highlighting his solitude in this new place. Sota dismissed the idea, saying that asking too much would spoil the enjoyment. He thought about the goddess's offer, appreciating its convenience since he wanted to live freely and act as he wished this time. The goddess said goodbye to Sota, hoping he would find a better life in this new isekai adventure. She thanked him sincerely, appreciating all the help he had given her. The goddess urged Sota to embrace the new world, wrapping up her farewell. With that, she readied to send him off, indicating it was time to part ways. Sota and 4 others stood in a glowing magical circle, bathed in brilliant light and surrounded by detailed symbols, with a majestic castle visible in the distance under a striking sky. The story moves forward as Sota arrived in an unfamiliar place, taking in his new surroundings. The 4 summoned students voiced their confusion, wondering aloud what was happening as they found themselves together in a classroom. The princess's followers, who had carried out the summoning, declared that the anticipated group of 5 had arrived. Sota admitted his bewilderment, saying he and the others were clueless, and asked for someone to clarify the situation. Elizabeth apologized earnestly, expressing regret for the abrupt summoning. She introduced herself as the 2nd princess of the Kingdom of Ardinal, greeting Sota and the others as courageous heroes. Sota and the other summoned students reacted with puzzlement, questioning why they were called heroes. Elizabeth explained that this world, named Haldaria, was unlike their own and that she had brought the heroes here using her summoning magic. The other students murmured among themselves, clearly unsettled by the sudden news of their new reality. Elizabeth desperately asked the summoned students to save them, but one student cut in, asking her to pause. The students shared their frustration, noting they were only students and questioning what they could do, even if Elizabeth expected them to save the kingdom. The princess's followers called for quiet, reminding everyone they were in the presence of the princess. Elizabeth proposed that it would be quicker for Sota and the others to see for themselves, instructing them to say status open. One of the summoned students complied, shouting status open, and a magical interface materialized in front of them. The other students gasped in shock, questioning the sudden appearance of the status screens. The summoned students studied their status screens, clearly stunned by the details shown. Elizabeth clarified that a typical knight's skill level was about level 3, level 5 was considered advanced, and anything higher was exceptional. As a result, the students displayed mixed reactions. Some found it thrilling, while others were unsure, and Sota stood quietly, taking it all in. Daiki Minamiyama announced she was a level 5 knight hero with light magic, swordsmanship, martial arts, rapid growth, and the unique blessing of the sword god. Haruna Kasai, a level 5 healer, had holy and enhancement magic, fast growth, and the healing god's blessing. Fuyuko Kitagawa, a level 5 sword master hero, was blessed by spirits with wind magic, martial arts, and sword skills. Aki Shinonome, also a level 5 sword master hero, carried the earth spirit's blessing, mastering magic, martial arts, and sword techniques. Sota thought to himself, telling himself to stay calm while noticing familiar elements but also some unfamiliar ones. He checked his status screen, which showed Sota as a status normal optimizing congeniality male with the title One Extremist believed by the gods, and abilities like glass-sworded samurai, alchemist, and others. Sota pondered to himself, puzzled by the odd title, samurai, dragon magic, sword god's blessing, and optimizing, wondering if the goddess was behind it. Elizabeth spoke to Soda and the students, stating that humanity was under constant threat from demons, and they must defeat the Demon King. At that moment, King Gauss of the Kingdom of Ardinal addressed Soda and the students, explaining that a Demon King had been defeated long ago, but a new one had recently emerged and was growing stronger. King Gauss told Soda and the students that upon defeating the Demon King, he would grant any reward they wished, adding that they could return to their original world using a return spell found in the Demon King's castle library. One of the summoned students spoke up, saying they were fine with the situation and ready to help the struggling people before returning home. They also noted they had the strength to fight. Kasai Haruna replied that if they felt that way, she supposed there was no choice. Elizabeth, relieved, said she could see they were willing to help and thanked them deeply, saying their efforts would save the kingdom. Soda asked if he could opt out, pointing out that he was just an ordinary person. Kasai Haruna challenged him, shouting that he couldn't say that and they had to help, but Soda apologized and firmly refused. He turned to the other students, asking if they had seen his status, revealing that his title marked him as someone caught in the summoning. Kasai asked if that meant he lacked a hero title, and Soda confirmed he did not. He admitted his job was swordsman, he had no magic, his swordsmanship skill was level 3, and he had no unique skills or divine protection. Kasai realized his skill concealment could hide his true abilities. Soda explained to Elizabeth that he wasn't holding her accountable, saying it was enough for him to travel freely. King Gauss agreed, stating 4 heroes should suffice, and told Soda to go on his journey, promising to provide him with funds. Elizabeth apologized to Soda, expressing regret for involving him in the summoning. Soda reassured her not to worry, adding that he didn't mind being pulled into it. This moment marked a turning point, separating Soda's path from the others, as he walked away while the 4 summoned heroes stood together in the distance. The next morning at the capital's north gate, a messenger handed Soda a package, saying it was from the king, and Soda thanked him. A guard warned Soda that his black eyes and hair made him noticeable, advising him to avoid the capital for a while and suggesting he head through the forest to a small village. Soda replied that they had helped him and thanked them. A guard then recommended that Soda aim for the adventurer's city farther ahead, and Soda acknowledged the advice, thanking them for coming early. As he reached the forest's edge, Soda saw 2 guards on horseback riding back toward him after heading to the capital. He wondered to himself if he had forgotten to give them something. Suddenly, the 2 guards charged at Soda with spears, kicking up dust and debris as he reacted to their attack. Soda shouted, asking what they were doing, and noticed something was off. He dodged their spear thrusts nimbly, jumping aside as one guard's erratic movements suggested they were under some influence. Soda realized they were being controlled, hesitating to fight back because he didn't want to harm them. Standing firm, Soda activated his appraisal skill, observing the situation. He cast lightning magic without chanting, and the guard braced for impact. The guard was overwhelmed by a torrent of lightning ripping through the air, collapsing under the energy storm. As the dust settled, Soda used a status recovery potion to heal the guard. He wondered aloud what had happened, confused. The guard, now in armor, stood shaken, realizing he had been brainwashed. Soda asked the guard, referred to as Wonder, what occurred after they parted. The guard recalled reporting to the minister, believing the court magician Lakes had praised him. Finally, the guard revealed to Soda that a cloaked figure with sharp eyes had given them the orders. Soda outlined the options to the guard, explaining that the first was to kill him while he was still rational, and the second was to return to the capital and flee. The guard pleaded that he didn't want to fight Lord Soda, revealing that he and Rob had families in the capital. Soda stared silently, his gaze unwavering. He then announced that they would go with a third option. Soda instructed the guard to return and report that he had eliminated him, presenting evidence to support the claim. He advised the guard to take his family and escape the capital afterward, warning that there was a chance the guard could be killed out of suspicion or to ensure silence. Soda stretched, proclaiming his newfound freedom. His inventory revealed a spatial magic pocket dimension, with a bag linked to it. Soda marveled, saying it was incredible, and that he wouldn't need to worry about money for a long time. He approached the items, holding the inventory grid, and decided to take everything. Equipped with a bracelet of disguise, an iron sword, and an iron plate, Soda noted that his hair color was perfect. He walked forward, declaring the direction of the city with the guild, his expression intense. Soda acquired the skill Sense Presence, marking the start of a new ability. Surprised, he wondered if skills could be gained this way, reflecting on the unexpected power. He activated Sense Presence to test it, and upon doing so, he found himself in a dark expanse where shadowy creatures lurked silently, revealing the skill's true potential. Soda stands alert as a voice yells "monster" and questions if he's drawing power from the magic reservoir, hinting at an emerging threat. He grasps the severity when another warns that the monsters are about to rampage, signaling immediate danger. A distant figure catches his eye, adding to the uncertainty. A firm resolve grows within Soda, shown in his determined expression, indicating a quiet choice to act. With a quick motion, he unsheathes his sword, readying for the fight ahead. Soda channels his determination, unleashing a beam or magic blast skyward, launching his counterattack. Monsters surge toward him with fierce energy, their charge marked by dynamic motion. Soda adopts a combat stance, drawing his sword with precision to face the approaching threat. He leaps into the monster horde, engaging with bold resolve in a fierce clash. His blade cuts through the air, causing chaos among the monsters as the intensity spikes. A close-up shows Soda's steadfast focus in the heat of battle. The monsters roar and charge with unrelenting fury, overwhelming in their assault. Soda realizes his iron sword struggles against these enemies, underscoring the rising peril. A shouted name heightens the moment in a tense close-up. Crouching low, Soda braces as monsters rush in, preparing for his next move. Beastmen gasp in surprise, their shock evident at the unfolding chaos. A distant view of Soda adds tension to the scene. Someone notes the use of incantation magic, pointing to its mystical nature. The beastmen's faces show stunned reactions, escalating the drama. Soda dives forward through the air, charging into action. An explosive impact shakes the ground, capping the peak of his attack. Soda pants heavily, the battle strain evident in his exhaustion. A wide view shows him standing victorious among defeated beasts, marking his hard-fought triumph. A close-up of his face reveals him questioning the presence of an unseen entity. His foot lands firmly, asserting his control over the scene. A mysterious figure's face partially appears, suggesting a secretive meeting. A majestic beast, radiating calm strength, commands the scene. It probes Soda's curiosity by asking about its own identity. Soda replies humbly yet confidently, calling himself a strong traveler. The beast remarks that it's not fully convinced by Soda's response but accepts his silence. It asks if Soda plans to kill it as well. The beast adds that it won't fight if there's no hostility. Soda clarifies that he acted preemptively to stop a monster rampage. He offers to fight if the beast insists, but the beast declines, admitting it doubts its chances of winning. Soda observes that the beast seems quite powerful too. Soda warns the beast to never threaten him or those he cares about, stating he won't be lenient again. The beast assures him it has never been hostile to humans. Soda proposes that in exchange for sparing it, the beast owes him a favor. The beast agrees, understanding the deal. It swears loyalty on the name of its former master. Soda cleans his sword with life magic, clean. He wonders if the beast was once tamed, noting its mention of a former master. Soda reflects that such loyalty, even after freedom, is uncommon. He decides to embrace exploring this world, 1,000 years in the future. Soda steps into Tura, the adventurer's town, marking the start of a new phase in his journey. He takes in a lively street scene, filled with the silhouettes of bustling townsfolk. A receptionist greets Soda, asking how she can help him today. Soda says he wants to register with the guild and sell some materials. He agrees to begin with the guild registration process. The receptionist hands him a form, asking him to fill out what he can. She offers to write it for him if needed, but Soda politely refuses, saying he can handle it himself, jokingly mentioning he mastered writing 1,000 years ago. He asks if his completed form is sufficient, and the receptionist confirms it is. Soda pricks his finger to draw blood, and the receptionist instructs him to place a drop on a specific spot. The blood drips onto a magical sheet, triggering its activation. Soda holds the paper, ready to proceed with the guild's formalities. The receptionist begins explaining the guild's system, pointing to a pyramid to show that new members receive an initial rank. She presents various ranks, A, B, E, F, alongside descriptions of requests, clarifying the structure. A detailed pyramid chart illustrates the ranking system. The receptionist explains that completing requests or achieving notable deeds raises one's rank, which comes with perks like bonuses on material purchases and discounts at the guild's tavern and inn, scaled to the rank achieved. The receptionist explains that to advance to C rank or higher, one must pass the guild's designated exam. She adds that at C rank or above, members receive mandatory requests, which must be accepted unless there's a valid excuse. She mentions that refusing is possible, but warns of consequences like rank downgrades, penalty fees, or, in extreme cases, expulsion from the guild. Soda reflects that avoiding the exam means staying below C rank, dodging those troublesome requests. He nods, showing he understands. Soda thanks her, saying he'll return if he has more questions or something's unclear. The elf girl giggles, apologizing, and thinks to herself that she can't help but laugh, as it's been a while since she gave such a thorough explanation. It's noted that gathering information is a key skill for adventurers. Soda wishes everyone were as helpful. He glances around the room, nodding in acknowledgement. The elf receptionist introduces herself as Irene, who manages the guild's reception duties. Smiling, she invites others to call her Irene. Soda realizes her name is Irene. He notices a sign for the material purchase counter and asks if it's the right place for selling materials, implying he has some. Irene offers to process the purchase in the warehouse out back, politely adding a please. The warehouse door swings open, revealing barrels as Soda steps inside. Irene starts to comment but trails off. Soda kneels, asking if this is everything. Irene marvels at the sheer quantity, noting that the materials include those from high-ranked general monsters. The scene highlights a vast array of materials strewn across the floor. Irene asks everyone to wait a moment, saying she'll fetch help. Soda orders the subspace storage to be cleared out. Irene apologizes for making Soda wait. A group declares they'll start working immediately. Soda sits patiently waiting. Two senior guild members approach, shown in a close-up. The guild master suggests they talk in his room while he reviews things. People react and head toward the room. Soda tells them not to mind him, urging them to continue their tasks. The guild master calls Soda an idiot, questioning who he thinks he is. The secretary, Milfa, apologizes for the guild master's behavior. Milfa introduces herself as the guild master's secretary, naming herself Milfa, and describes the guild master, Gran, as a fiery red old man. Gran objects to being called an old man. Soda notes the presence of the guild master and secretary, but has no interest in joining them. Milfa pleads with him to reconsider. Soda insists he's not obligated to comply. Milfa sighs, saying she didn't want to resort to another approach. Negotiations begin as Milfa offers a 10% increase on the appraisal value. She mentions her name curiously, while Gran reacts with shock at the 10% raise. Milfa counters that 10% is too much, proposing 15% instead. Soda agrees eagerly, suggesting they finalize the deal and head to the room. Gran asks Soda to wait and not leave him behind. Milfa questions the scope of the matter. Inside the room, Milfa repeats her doubts about the situation's extent. Soda confirms his statement's accuracy. He says he doesn't care if they believe him as long as the purchase happens, noting he has both general rank and king-class monster materials available. Milfa stood firm, stating that defeating a king-class monster would require teaming up with at least an A-class adventurer. Gran, with a seasoned air, voiced worry, noting alone it was too powerful and wondering what could be done. Soda shifted his posture, accepting the situation, and declared he was heading out. Gran stared at a shimmering king boar demon stone, its massive form glowing with energy. Soda paused at the doorway, mentioning that buying the materials would take time, so he'd return tomorrow. Milfa called out, pleading for Soda to wait and talk a bit longer. Soda strode purposefully through the town, deciding to find an inn first. He stopped among the town's buildings, blending into the lively crowd. A cheerful innkeeper with cat-like ears approached, asking if Soda wanted a meal or a room. Soda said he'd like to stay, asking if any rooms were available. The innkeeper, thrilled, confirmed they had open rooms. She offered one night for 7 silver coins, adding excitedly that a special bento was included. Soda agreed, saying he'd take it until the 10th, and the innkeeper joyfully shouted to her mom that they had a guest. The innkeeper's mother gently asked her daughter Millie to lower her voice, and Millie agreed. She handed Soda the room keys, telling him they were for his stay. Smiling, she encouraged Soda to feel at home. Soda sat on the bed, lost in thought, as the calm night view outside the window glowed softly. Soda stood resolute, declaring his goal was to climb the guild ranks. He pondered deeply, thinking about his reason for traveling. Exhausted, he lay on the bed, admitting he felt tired. Soda soon fell into a peaceful sleep, recovering from his travels. A montage began, flashing back to Soda's first summoning. Scenes of facing tough challenges played in his mind. Images of trusted comrades appeared in his memories. The defeat of the Demon King stood out as a turning point. A lingering question arose about what happened next. Sitting on the bed, Soda realized his suspicions were correct. He stared into the distance, mourning the complete loss of memories after defeating the Demon King. Clenching his fist, he vowed that his ultimate goal remained unchanged. The quiet exterior of the building loomed in the background. With firm resolve, Soda decided he must uncover the truth about that time. The following morning, a delicious breakfast is beautifully arranged on the table. Soda takes his first taste of the meal. His face lights up, cheeks bulging in surprise as he lets out a soft moan. Soda clearly enjoys the food, showing his satisfaction with the flavor. Mealy, excited, asks hopefully if he likes it. She proudly explains that her father, a top chef, honed his skills for years at a renowned restaurant in the capital. Mealy thinks to herself that choosing this inn was a smart decision. Her mother gently asks if Soda plans to visit the guild to purchase ingredients this morning. Soda hesitantly agrees, though he feels uneasy about it. He then firmly refuses to go. Irene wonders why she's been asked to head to the second floor. She mentions that getting her reward ready will take a bit of time. Soda suggests coming back at midday. Irene is shocked, pointing out that the guild master himself has spoken. Suddenly, a voice from behind Nilfa begs for forgiveness on someone's behalf. Irene spots Nilfa and calls her by name. Nilfa invites herself to the guild master's office. Soda insists he's said all he needs to and wants to avoid any trouble. Both Nilfa and Irene ask him to listen to them. Nilfa mentions they need to talk about a rank promotion. The scene moves to the guild master's office. Soda asks what a rank up means, pointing out he just registered and hasn't completed any quests. The guild master explains his decision, saying he couldn't ignore Soda's ability to defeat numerous monsters single-handedly. He adds that a higher rank will help Soda earn money more easily, though Soda appreciates it but feels hesitant. Soda questions whether the decision is fair, wondering if it's an abuse of the guild master's power. Nilfa nods in agreement with his concern. The guild master brushes it off, saying it's not a big deal. He insists his decision is fine and better than Soda leaving town. Nilfa agrees, noting it would help the guild run smoothly. The guild master asks to continue the discussion without him. He declares the matter settled. Irene hands over the reward, which she prepared for Soda's return. The reward consists of gold, silver, and copper coins. Soda decides he'll act on his own next time, while Irene thanks him warmly with excitement. Soda firmly tells Irene and Nilfa not to summon him again, deciding he'll act on his own next time. Dark figures appear, stealthily following Soda. As Soda moves forward, shadowy shapes trail behind him. He quietly realizes they're being watched. Soda silently schemes to lead them toward the guild. The mysterious figures follow without a sound. Soda boldly asks if they have a problem with him. An ogre casually admits Soda noticed them. The ogre demands the money Soda got from the guild, warning of harm if he refuses. Another ogre chuckles darkly. The first ogre questions if Soda would dare say no, then scolds the other for laughing and eating. Stunned by the behavior, Soda challenges the group, asking if this is how adventurers act in front of the guild. The group brushes it off, claiming the guild stays out of adventurer conflicts. Soda hints that fighting them physically might be fine. The ogres respond with hostility, daring Soda to strike. Shadows charge into the brewing battle. The guild master's voice booms, ordering the fight to stop. A crowd gathers, observing the tense moment. The guild master says he'll step in, banning fights near the guild, but offering a duel if they insist on settling it. An ogre vows to handle it elsewhere, ordering Soda to come along. Soda watches the scene quietly. The setting changes to a deserted duel arena, with figures standing apart. The guild master clarifies that duels are overseen by a referee and follow strict rules. Soda asks to set the terms and rewards, proposing a knockout or surrender as victory, adding that killing would be too easy. An ogre, stunned, mocks Soda's bold threat and questions his nerve. The ogre bets they'll take all Soda's guild money if they win. Soda stays calm, showing no concern about the challenge. Soda suggests enslaving his opponents, valuing them at 5 to 10 gold coins each. The guild master recommends sparing their lives, finding the proposal acceptable. He adds that since they won't be killed, the plan fits perfectly. Nilfa asks about Mr. Gall and the others' positions. The group consents, expecting a quick surrender from the opponents. The scene shows everyone watching quietly. Soda expresses concern, asking why the ogre avoids using a weapon. The ogre threatens to kill Soda with a weapon but claims bare hands are enough, urging Soda to arm himself. The guild master confirms that if Soda refuses a weapon, the rules allow it, and he'll accept the result if Soda loses. The duel starts with a clear signal. An ogre yells, unleashing a blazing attack. The move is recognized as a fireball from chant magic. Soda shows surprise at the attack. The ogre rushes toward him with purpose. An ogre strikes, pushing Soda to evade while aiming for a weak spot. Soda notes the ogre's ability, realizing he's no mere brute. The moment captures a fierce clash with a strong impact. The guild master and Nilfa are amazed, observing that the magic was repelled. An ogre is stunned by Soda's bare-handed defense. Soda remarks that the ogre's weapon is weak. The guild master questions how the ogre tied magic to the fireball. Soda states he neutralized the magic, The ogre attacks again, leading to fierce fighting with vivid reactions between Soda and the ogre. A weapon deflects a strike. Soda praises the ogre's skill, calling it top tier. The ogre grudgingly acknowledges the compliment. Soda mocks the ogre, asking what he can do now and pushing him to give up. The ogre cautions Soda that letting his guard down will be dangerous. An attack rushes forward with force. Soda gasps, startled by the water magic. He proclaims he can still keep moving. Soda deflects several sword strikes. Foes spring into the fray. Soda confidently states his defense won't break this time. A shout orders the next action. A blazing storm attack bursts forth. Onlookers wonder if the strike hit its mark. The guild master Nulfa shouts Soda's name, worried. Soda confesses he misjudged the enemy's power. He commends the group's remarkable abilities. Soda thinks to himself he should have fought harder instead of holding back. The battle grows fiercer, with figures hurled about. Nulfa eagerly confirms she's following orders. Characters slam against a wall. The scene reveals all opponents are knocked out. Nulfa announces Soda's victory. Though some express disbelief, Soda admits it's a draw, noting he used a taken sword despite not needing one. Footsteps resound as the setting changes. The guild master asks if Soda will skip the reward, and Soda replies he doesn't care. Soda demands an end to the pretense. Confusion arises over what he means. Soda acknowledges the group as skilled adventurers. He reflects that he first thought they were mere thieves, but now sees their strong fighting skills and magic prowess, surprised by their use of a rare, high-quality weapon. Soda accuses the old man of orchestrating the entire setup. He then questions the old man's truthfulness, but the guild master, stunned, denies it, swearing as guild master he'd never do such a thing. Soda presses the guild master, reminding him how he vowed to use his power to raise him to D rank and then tested him without warning, to which the guild master fumbles a denial and begs that anything but that should happen. Meanwhile, Milfa thinks to herself that she warned him repeatedly to stop. Milfa then apologizes to Soda-san, asking for forgiveness, while Soda inwardly feels like he's being too hard on them. In the end, Soda ponders the situation and asks if he can make 2 requests. Days later, after the duel, Soda earns a living by taking on simple guild tasks. He helps with moving and does carpentry work on Sundays. Soda also carries heavy luggage and cleans a large mansion. Eventually, he's trusted to manage a shop. The enemy group reacts and flees. Soon, they confront Soda again. Soda watches as the enemies depart. Later, the enemies bow as they leave. Soda smiles in response. Millie spots Soda, and a shopkeeper thanks him for his help the other day, asking him to assist at the shop again. Millie remarks that Soda's quite well liked in town, while Soda silently notes he's made more friends. Millie senses something seems strange. Soda replies with a curious hum. Millie asks why Soda only takes errand jobs, wondering if adventurers prefer fighting monsters or hunting treasure, to which Soda explains that few tackle errand tasks, leaving many on the guild's board, and Millie nods in understanding. Soda adds that it helps the town thrive, and when Millie asks about town circulation, he explains that aiding shops to prosper makes his life easier too. Millie agrees, though Soda admits it won't earn him adventurer fame but suits him fine. Soda announces the cargo transport job is done, and Millie thanks him, urging him to collect his reward at the guild. Soda decides to grab a bite while he's at it. A close-up captures Soda's expression. A cup lingers in view. Milfa tells Soda the item he wanted is ready. Soda notes it was prepared quicker than he thought, and Milfa offers to show it now if it's a good time, to which Soda agrees to see it right away. Millie surprises Soda with a complimentary special parfait. Soda confesses he's not fond of sweets and offers some to Millie, saying girls are probably better with this stuff. Millie hesitates, asking if that's okay. She then apologizes but begs to have some. Soda reminds her he already mentioned his dislike for sweets. He asks Millie if she enjoys them. Millie excitedly says no. She adds that her dad will be thrilled to see her eat so happily. Soda notes to himself that Millie has her charming moments. Millie, caught off guard, stumbles over her words. She tells Soda not to poke fun at her, but he insists he's being sincere. Millie hurries him to finish eating so they can leave. Soda shares his excitement about seeing what's been prepared. Millie assures him she's created something beyond his hopes and says sorry for getting flustered earlier. Soda comments on how far they've walked, and Millie agrees it's due to the situation. Millie declares they've arrived and unveils the item in question. She shows Soda the property meant for his house. Soda is amazed, saying it looks more like a grand manor and exceeds what he imagined. Millie is pleased to see Soda so happy. Soda thinks to himself that getting a mansion like this for free seems too good to be true. Millie explains it was originally 1,200 gold coins, but the guild master negotiated a 200 gold coin discount, plus an extra 800 gold coin reduction out of kindness. Soda remarks on the huge discount and Mealy credits it to the urgent circumstances. Soda admits he doesn't have 200 gold coins right now. Mealy calls it a fine property. She mentions a proposal from the guild master, and Soda feels something isn't right. The scene shifts to a classical building under a cloudy sky. The guild master warmly welcomes Soda. Soda calls out the old man for acting clueless and arranging things so he had to accept the job. The guild master expresses regret for the indirect approach, explaining it's a somewhat unique issue. He then asks for Soda's assistance, citing his impressive strength. Guard Dan scolds Soda for not showing respect to the count by failing to greet him, while Soda questions if the old man is the one making the request. The guild master steps in to calm Dan down. Elbaz apologizes for his guard's behavior, introduces himself as the local lord making the request, and Soda ponders what kind of task a noble with a knight would need from an ordinary person like him. As tensions rise, Dan tells Soda to mind his manners, but Soda sharply asks if he's making a request or not, pressing him to decide. Dan furiously calls Soda a bastard. Milfa calls out to Soda-san worried. A close-up of an eye heightens the intense moment. Soda and another figure stand off, with energy crackling around them. A character is flung back with force, while another stands calmly. A text box announces that Soda has gained the coercion skill. The scene changes and Elbaz laughs loudly, amazed that Dan was knocked out cold without a chance to react. Elbaz admits Gran was right to suggest Soda, and says he trusts him with the request. Elbaz then shares that he has a granddaughter named Alina. He reveals that his son and his wife passed away from illness shortly after Alina's birth. Elbaz explains he took her in and raised her himself. He proudly calls Alina his greatest treasure. Finally, Elbaz grieves that Alina has fallen ill. Elbaz asks Soda if he's familiar with a disease known as stone fever. He explains that it causes a burning fever, with the body slowly turning to stone from the limbs, sometimes called a magical circulation disorder. Elbaz shares that those afflicted with Alina's condition typically pass away within a month, and it's been a week since she contracted it. Soda recalls hearing about the disease before. He notes that while a specific remedy exists, its ingredients are hard to gather. Elbaz confirms they've secured most of the medicine's components. However, he falters when mentioning the final one. Elbaz reveals the missing ingredient is dragon liver. He admits that despite all efforts, he couldn't obtain it. Soda agrees that killing a dragon and taking its liver is a daunting task. Elbaz turns to Soda directly. He desperately begs for Soda's help, saying Alina is like a granddaughter to him as well. Dan, expressing regret for his earlier behavior, asks Soda to accept Lord Elbaz's request. Soda consents with a simple okay and tells Elbaz to lift his head. He asks if Elbaz knows the dragon's location, and Elbaz replies it resides at the peak of a mountain a week's journey east. Elbaz adds that it's a mountain local knights and adventurers avoid. Milfa clarifies it's called the Mountain of Death, notorious for its dragons. She explains the monsters there are ranked A to B, with many adventurers never returning. Milfa cautions Soda about the extreme danger and urges him not to overexert himself. Soda decides to try, firmly telling Elbaz he's relying on him to secure the house, warning he'll keep the liver if it's sold, to which Elbaz reassures him not to worry. Soda plans to take a carriage to the eastern mountain, mentioning city shops that specialize in them. A horse shop owner calls out to Soda, offering to show him some fine horses. Soda muses about what horses might be like 1,000 years in the future. The horse's head looks calm yet attentive. The shop owner cautions Soda that it's a wild horse and dangerous, telling him to keep his distance. Soda asks if the horse is truly wild. The horse then eats a carrot from Soda's hand. The owner, amazed, says he's never seen the horse so tame before. Soda remarks that they seem to get along well. He decides to buy the horse and asks for the wagon to be readied, and the owner agrees to prepare it immediately. Soda announces he's beginning his journey and tells the horse to eat up. He shares his plan to head east, and the horse neighs in response. Soda begins to go forward and drives the carriage toward the dragon's lair, with far-off mountains visible beyond the trees. A few days into their adventure, Soda whistles a soft tune, bringing a gentle melody to the quiet air. While riding, he feels the joy of the journey and speaks to Edward, his horse. At dusk, a tent and a covered wagon sit calmly under dimming light, and Soda approaches the tent, his silhouette visible from behind. Inside the peaceful tent, there's a sofa, a table with a candle holder, and a person sleeping under a blanket. In the morning, Soda uses magic to pour tea, with plates and utensils floating, creating a charming scene. Nearby, Edward rests calmly, unbothered by the surroundings. Soda carefully bathes the horse, ensuring its comfort, then enjoys a tasty meal, relishing every bite. Later, he sleeps deeply in bed, fully at rest. In the distance, a mountain silhouette rises against the horizon. At another moment, Soda stands with Edward near the tent and wagon, pausing thoughtfully. Using space magic, he teleports dishes, showing his skill. He tells Edward to stay nearby, trusting the horse's cleverness to avoid monsters. With a fond pat, Soda promises to return soon and prepares to leave. Under a wide sky, with a mountain and trees in view, Soda puts on a large feathered cloak and grips his sword firmly. He looks ahead with determination, ready for the challenge, and declares his plan to climb the mountain. As he walks the mountain path, Soda recalls Milfa's warning about strong enemies. Suddenly surprised, he shouts and faces forward cautiously. Looking back, he spots the danger, realizing enemies are already near. A B-rank rock lizard rises from the ground, its presence intimidating. The rock lizard hurls a projectile, testing Soda's quickness. He dodges swiftly, his cloak swirling as he avoids the attack. Thinking of past fights, Soda recalls his comrades lying in wait, comparing this moment to a battle with Gull's gang, readying himself with fresh determination. In the tense moment, Soda hesitates briefly, showing a flicker of doubt. Despite this, he surges forward with confidence, declaring he can fight without holding back, prepared for the challenge. On the rough terrain, Soda studies the rock lizard's tough upper scale, assessing its value. He thinks of Suma's treasured sword, Izaoi, crafted with dwarves from materials that stay sharp and only grow keener. Surrounded by riches, Soda holds an item, pleased, and remarks that the mountain is rich with resources. Near the rocky cliffs, Soda walks along the mountain edge, amazed by the collected materials and the fading magical energy in the mountain. His alert eyes show sharp awareness in a close-up. Standing on a cliff, Soda takes in the sweeping view of the landscape. A sudden gust surprises him as leaves swirl around. At the journey's highest point, Soda stands on a path lined with flowers, feeling accomplished at reaching the summit. A close-up of his eye shows unwavering resolve. Lying among the flowers, Soda rests, looking up in calm reflection. Suddenly, a red fire dragon soars through the flower field, catching Soda's attention. He observes it as a young fire dragon, wondering if its nature allows it to communicate with humans. In a fierce close-up, the dragon's glowing eyes command the scene. During the standoff, Soda apologizes for entering the dragon's territory, casting a spell for fire and heat resistance, while noting he can't ask for the dragon's liver even if it understands him. The fire dragon responds with a fierce blast of flames, escalating the conflict. Soda quickly dodges the fiery attack, his face showing surprise. In the intensifying battle, Soda is amazed by the dragon's fiery power, realizing most would have perished, his face fierce with battle scars. As the fight grows fiercer, the fire dragon hurls several fireballs, readying its next move. With firm determination, Soda calls the fireball's strength extraordinary, rushing forward with his cloak billowing, set on ending the battle swiftly. Facing the dragon's power, Soda jumps to attack with the Dragon Slayer, a supreme sword made for killing dragons. Boldly he asks for forgiveness while aiming to take the dragon's liver, swooping down toward his foe. The dragon's eye, in a close-up, shows shock at the sudden move. In the fierce clash, Soda strikes from above, sword high, confronting the dragon directly. The dragon's eye stays sharp and attentive, reflecting the high stakes. Surprised by the intensity, Soda's wide eyes reveal his astonishment at the unexpected shift. As lightning flashes during their fight, Soda finds it odd that the Dragon Slayer remains undamaged, noting he's never seen a fire dragon use lightning and respects its immense power. Feeling something off, Soda senses a mystery and uses his appraisal skill, his focused eye and face filling the moment. During the standoff, Soda asks the dragon if it can speak. Curious, he also questions the dragon's strange appearance while facing it head-on. The dragon responds, recognizing Soda's strong appraisal ability, its massive form towering with presence. Through the haze, the dragon's eye locks on, noting Soda's blessing from the dragon god, as anticipated. In a stunning realization, Soda accuses the dragon of concealing its true nature, amazed he could see through it. Shocked, he can't believe the fire dragon is an ancient dragon, his surprise clear. Through the foggy air, Soda steps forward, moving carefully in the mist. In a vivid close-up, the dragon's wing comes into sharp view. In the vast flower field, Soda stands gazing upward, awestruck by the dragon's massive wings stretching across the sky, calling the sight absolutely stunning. Bathed in sunlight, the majestic dragon towers among the flowers, its scales gleaming with regal strength. Face to face, Soda asks if the dragon was testing his power, knowing its might and blessing, while the dragon admits a misjudgment could have been fatal. Relieved, the dragon laughs warmly, glad Soda survived, saying all ended well, leaving Soda at a loss for words. Among the flowers, the dragon asks why Soda came to this place. Soda replies he was sent on a request to get a dragon's liver to cure a girl with stone fever. Curious, the dragon finds this odd, leading Soda to seek clarification. In their talk, the dragon confirms dragon materials are needed for a stone fever antidote but says it doesn't have to be the liver, and Soda asks about other recipes, getting a precise nod from the dragon in a close-up. The dragon shares its knowledge, suggesting tears instead of a liver, with a large teardrop appearing. It lists a basilisk claw, holy water, and healing tree leaves as other ingredients, confident in the recipe, with visuals of each item shown. Reflecting, Soda recalls mentions of tears, realizing he has all but that lost in thought. He notes a problem catching the dragon's curious look. The dragon asks what he means, facing him directly. During their talk, Soda wonders if others will trust the recipe, mentioning Grandpa's subordinate who mixes the medicine, and the dragon agrees. The dragon says explaining is crucial, casually mentioning keys while lounging. Nervously, Soda urges seriousness, sweating as the dragon apologizes for its long gap since last talking. Resolute, the dragon insists they'll make it work. Confronting the reality, the dragon stresses that saving the girl is more important than who prepares the medicine, its face shown in a close-up. Soda struggles to accept a lecture from a dragon, but the dragon points out its centuries of life. Looking back, the dragon shares that it enjoyed their time together, its eye reflecting deep emotion. In a kind gesture, the dragon offers its tears for Soda to take if he chooses, standing proudly. Soda asks for a brief pause, reaching into his bag. A close-up shows the dragon's eye as a tear falls, with Soda holding a container to collect it. During the process, Soda holds a vial now filled with dragon tears, confirming their acquisition. The dragon remarks it might have given too much, while Soda nervously sweats, clutching the vial. Composed, the dragon stands tall as Soda gains the life magic, clean skill. In the wide open sky, Soda looks up in amazement, hardly believing he's riding a dragon. His joy is clear as he marvels at the dragon gliding smoothly above. Next to the massive dragon, Soda notes its unexpected kindness, and the dragon proposes going to the mountain's base to avoid trouble. When Soda jumps off, the dragon feels guilty about a sudden move, making Soda think it over. The dragon then shares that most people climbing the mountains want to kill it, so Soda, surprised, admits his own plan to take the dragon's liver balances things out. Still, the dragon looks at Soda gravely, pointing out a lingering unease between them. Staring closely, the dragon senses Soda has a past tied to this place. It then chooses to stay in the mountain a bit longer, standing beside Soda on the ground. Speaking solemnly, the dragon names Soda as someone shielded by the dragon god, promising to help if trouble comes. Soda smiles up, recognizing their connection. He confidently adds that if crying fails, he'll go for the dragon's liver, though the dragon hopes to avoid that. As the dragon flies off, Soda watches it go. Turning forward with resolve, he moves forward. Lastly, Soda says sorry to Edward for keeping him waiting, noting a horse must be starving, and suggests they eat while petting it gently. In the bustling town, shadows of people weave through the streets. Soda stops, asking Millie to hold on for a moment. Millie beams, happily greeting Soda-san and welcoming him back. She calls out again, thrilled to have him home. Meanwhile, Soda wonders to himself if he should say he's home. Millie, a bit annoyed, says he should just say it like anyone else. Finally, Soda gives in, saying fine, fine, as he pats Millie's head and declares he's home, making Millie grin with joy. Millie's mom warns Millie she's getting too worked up. Millie explains she was just anxious since Soda took off on a long trip after only doing small jobs. Her mom says alright, but asks Millie to keep her voice down in the shop. Soda, thankful, mentions the food he requested made the trip really fun. He relishes the memory, noting the tasty food and water, and says no trip has ever felt so satisfying. Soda thanks Millie, but Millie points out her dad was the one who cooked it. Then Millie pauses, starting to say something with a but. She quickly shares her deep relief, saying she's so happy Soda returned safely, her smile glowing with gentle eyes and flushed cheeks. Soda asks if they have a stable or something for his carriage. Millie responds by asking if they have horses. She then suggests there's a shack out back and offers to show Soda where it is. Together, Millie and Soda head outside, with Millie leading the way as the horse grazes calmly. Millie greets the horse cheerfully, saying it's nice to meet you, Edkun, and introduces herself as Millie. Soda, caught off guard, Millie admires the horse, commenting that he's a big boy. She adds that his fur looks very clean. In the background, a close-up shows Ed's eyes quietly watching. Soda, pleased, says he's glad to see Edward has taken to her. He asks Millie to wait a bit as he has something to handle. Millie promises firmly that she'll look after the horse well, Soda entrusts Edward to Mealy, asking him to watch over her. Mealy, with a playful tone, tells he doesn't need to reply. As the journey moves forward, Soda agrees with resolve, looking ahead. He thinks about the task, mentioning the medicine. Confidently, he decides he should be able to make it there. The scene then shifts to an alchemist's shop, its rustic look defined by barrels and stonework, signaling a new setting. The alchemist's shop interior shows a cloaked figure behind the counter. The shopkeeper greets Soda, asking what he needs. Soda seeks help, saying he wants to make medicine and asks to borrow the shop's equipment. The shopkeeper, cautious, inquires about what Soda plans to create. Soda sets a term, saying they can discuss it if the shopkeeper lends him the equipment. The shopkeeper agrees to help, saying she'll ask her grandma and asks Soda to wait briefly. Soda watches her slip through a curtain. Soon he's alone, staring at shelves packed with jars and herbs. An elderly woman in traditional robes approaches slowly, asking if Soda is the one wanting to use the equipment. Soda, curious, says yes and asks who she is. The shopkeeper clarifies she's the grandma she mentioned. Soda, surprised. He then notices her pointed ears, realizing she's an elf. Noting elves live longer and age slower than humans, as a close-up shows the graceful woman's ears. The shopkeeper's grandma introduces herself as Karenreen, the girl's grandmother, and asks to be called Karen. The shopkeeper says she's Elmia, Karenreen's granddaughter. Soda introduces himself boldly as Soda, an adventurer. He then gets to business, saying he wants to start and needs the alchemy equipment. Karen ponders the request, saying she might lend the equipment depending on what Soda needs it for. Soda makes it clear he's not here to whip up simple potions. Karen asks for a promise of secrecy, warning it'd be trouble if word got out, and assures she's skilled at keeping things quiet. She adds that her granddaughter is trustworthy too. Soda nods with calm assurance, noting elves remain as honorable as they were a millennium ago. As the story moves forward, Soda announces his goal to craft a cure for stone fever. Karenreen listens quietly, her face growing stern. She then states firmly that if Soda's mocking her, he should leave. Karen explains that stone fever's cure requires dragon materials. Skeptically, she remarks that Soda doesn't seem like someone who'd have those. Soda responds thoughtfully, saying Karen looks youthful to him, not elderly. He reflects that looks can be misleading, raising his hand with confidence. Karen and Elmia watch in silence. Suddenly, Karen laughs loudly, saying she was curious about Soda's next words, while Elmia looks taken aback. Soda cautiously notes they likely have the ingredients. He admits he thinks he knows the recipe, as Karen smiles gently, pointing to herself. Playfully, Karen teases him about his lack of confidence, nudging her granddaughter to join in. Karen earnestly begs Soda to help make medicine to save a girl. She listens quietly, deep in thought, as Elmia observes. Curious, Karen asks if the girl is Lady Alina from the Lord's Manor. She then commits to assisting, saying she'll teach Soda how to use the equipment. Expressing worry, Karen says she too wants the child to recover, while Soda, hesitant, asks if she's certain as she moves forward decisively. With bold confidence, Karen declares to leave everything to her, striking a proud pose. Elmia, stunned, blushes and gasps. Soda, equally shocked, stares wide-eyed. Doubting, Soda wonders if it's really fine to trust Karen as she flexes proudly while Elmia looks anxious. Karen is amazed, unable to believe Soda has such rare ingredients. Surprised, she questions if he's using components from an older, tougher recipe. Soda asks if the dragon's liver recipe is simpler, and Karen, intrigued, notes he's aware of that too. Thoughtfully, Karen explains that using dragon's tears isn't easier than dragon's liver. It just requires adding healing tree leaves. She confidently shares that those trees are plentiful in the Elven lands. Somberly, Karen reveals most healing trees are now extinct. She recalls it happened 200 to 300 years ago. Soda, stunned, exclaims, asking how old she is. Calmly, Karen admits she's about 500 years old. Karen recounts that stone fever once spread widely, leading to overharvesting of healing trees, now tightly controlled by elves for export. She reasons that this scarcity birthed a new recipe. Concerned, Karen stresses that Soda seems unaware of how rare healing leaves are, gesturing grandly as smoke swirls. Deciding to move on, she says she won't pry further, while Soda grins to sidestep trouble. Karen offers to make the potion for free if Soda helps, and he agrees with a simple okay. The alchemist's shop exterior then comes into view. Inside, Karen and Soda labor together, Soda reading a book as Karen tweaks equipment. A potion streams neatly into a decorative bowl, steam curling upward. Karen shouts in delight, exclaiming "all right" as light bursts, marking success. A shimmering potion bottle hovers, radiant with light. Soda cheers, yelling it's finished, as Karen beams with pride. She declares the stone fever miracle cure is ready. Soda verifies, confirming it's genuine, identifying it as the stone fever miracle cure. Karen tactically asks how Soda will convince Lord Elbaz this is the cure. She points out the original task was to fetch a dragon's liver, and Soda admits she's correct. Karen steps up, promising to back the medicine's authenticity, urging Soda to prepare, and asks Elmia to mind the shop, apologizing. Soda quietly thanks them, saying sorry for the trouble before leaving. From a vantage point overlooking the Lord's vast estate, a vigilant guard stands watch at the entrance. Nearby, Soda introduces himself as an adventurer, pressing to be brought to the Lord immediately. At the same time, Karen, identifying as an alchemist, ponders whether the guard has heard of her fame. The Lord warmly welcomes the group, with Elbaz expressing relief at their arrival, noting he had been expecting them, and voicing surprise that Karen accompanied Soda. Karen and Soda stand poised beside him. Then Soda raises a potion, asking about the item requested while sharing a cautious thought. The Lord, intrigued, examines the bottle and asks what it contains. Karen clarifies that she crafted a medicine for stone fever using a unique formula, highlighting the need for a healing tree leaf. The Lord, taken aback, exclaims about the healing tree leaf. Elbaz, in disbelief, questions how they acquired it. Soda affirms the medicine's authenticity, pledging to stand by it and proposing they proceed lawfully. The Lord, considering the situation, contemplates offering a larger reward as Soda grins with optimism. In a quieter moment, Elena, Elbaz's granddaughter, lies in bed, lamenting the trouble she's caused while mentioning she knows the story. Surrounded by Soda, Karen, and the Lord, Elbaz comforts her, assuring her that Grandpa acted on his own, urging Elena not to fret, emphasizing that no effort was too great for her and that Grandpa would do anything. Meanwhile, Soda wonders if the process will take long, and Elena fears the medicine might go to waste if she passes away. At last, Elena cautiously sips the medicine. Elena, wide-eyed and silent, marvels at her recovery, feeling her body move freely without pain. Elbaz, astonished, confirms the reality of her healing. Then, Elena stumbles into Soda's arms, sparking a brief moment of worry. Soda gently warns Elena to take care, given her time bedridden, encouraging slow rehabilitation while she apologizes. Helping Elena sit, Soda accepts her thanks, glances at Karen, and leaves the rest to them. Next, Karen shares that Elbaz will discuss their reward tomorrow, but stresses she only cared about ensuring the medicine worked, not the reward, as Soda and Karen walk off into the distance. Smiling warmly, Karen muses on the valuable experience and invites them to her shop again. Later, Elena warmly greets Lord Soda, thanking him profoundly for everything. Soda cheers Elena's remarkable recovery, while Elbaz announces an additional reward of gold coins. Soda happily accepts, later confessing his hunger, comparing it to Noburi's. Soda eats joyfully, praising the food for tasting like his hometowns. The shopkeeper, shocked, learns such food exists elsewhere and eagerly seeks more details. Then, the guild master, with a curt, demands more information. Soda admits they couldn't get the liver, feeling sorry for poor Elena-chan. He shares that Irina was cured of stone fever, leaving the guild master confused, asking what he means and why Soda's eating before reporting. The guild master expresses appreciation for the effort in saving his friend's granddaughter, offering heartfelt thanks. Soda welcomes the gratitude but asks about the house he had requested. Later, Führer recognizes Milfa and introduces herself as the Earth House owner, while Milfa and Soda discuss his identity, with Milfa commenting on his youthful look and guessing he might be an A-rank prospect. Soda corrects her, stating he's D rank, which surprises Führer, who questions his rank. Soda jokes he must come from a notable family, though he admits it's not true, and Führer asks him not to dig too deeply, noting that buying such a house requires significant status. Milfa then realizes Führer is the guild master's niece, linking it to the referral discount, and Führer confirms that the paperwork, payment, and procedures are finalized, inviting Soda to return if he encounters any home issues. Soda enters the furniture shop Katina, taking in the display of furniture. He examines a sofa curiously, then picks up and studies a carpet. Next, Soda struggles to lift a heavy piece of furniture, earning a thumbs up from the shopkeeper. Afterward, Millie's mother warmly greets Soda's return. Soda shares that he's bought a house, thanking them and explaining his plan to move out, which shocks Millie. Excitedly, he tells Ed the news, proudly announcing his new home purchase. Soda asks Millie if she cleaned the house, and she confesses to going a bit overboard. He offers her a reward, which leaves Millie clearly shocked. Later, Soda describes the hair ornament's rough craftsmanship from years ago, mentioning its wind blessing, while Millie thinks about Soda making it. The scene closes with magic sparking at maximum cleanliness, transforming the house. As the day ends, Soda reflects on the long day and considers eating the food he got from the stall. He then enjoys the tasty flavor of the meal. Next, Soda recognizes he's met his short-term goals of ranking up, earning money, and securing a home. He acknowledges the complex situation with the elf tribe and plans to visit the library tomorrow, soon drifting off to sleep. The next morning, Soda greets Ed cheerfully, putting him in charge while he's away, and Ed agrees. Soda asks about the library, and Eri confirms it exists. She mentions a large library to the northeast and several smaller ones in the city, earning Soda's thanks. Suddenly, a guard cuts in with a sharp warning, scolding Soda for speaking to Lady Eri so casually outside a quest and using her first name. Soda explains it's because Eri's place was welcoming, suggesting the guard do the same, which makes the guard laugh at being called by his first name again. The tension rises as the guard delivers a heavy punch to Soda's face. As the tension peaks with a sharp squeeze, Soda startles the guard by firmly grasping his hand. The guard, stunned, demands to know what Soda did. Soda casually denies any action, leaving the guard confused. The guard then apologizes for the disturbance, expressing remorse for startling even Eri. While Eri questions what just occurred, Soda announces his plan to visit the Great Library next. The scene transitions to the Great Library, where Soda arrives on his mission. Tasked with exploring the political dynamics of each race's nation, his attention shifts to a wider scope involving humans, dwarves, dragonfolk, elves, and beastmen. At last, Soda immerses himself in a book, reading with intense focus as he discovers the legend of the 7 heroes. The book describes a world ruled by the Demon King 1,000 years ago. 7 brave heroes from across the globe united and embarked on a quest. Among them, the hero from another world grew significantly during their travels. He brought together and guided the heroes, despite their clashing personalities. After facing numerous challenges, the heroes arrived at the Demon King's castle. There, they encountered the Demon King's formidable retainers. During the battle, 2 of their companions lost their lives. Then the heroes saw the towering figure of the Demon King. The fight against the Demon King was intensely brutal. Despite the heroes' efforts to defeat him, the Demon King remained unbeaten. Only the hero from another world had a unique power. With his sword that severs evil, he ultimately vanquished the Demon King. Yet the tale ends in tragedy. The otherworldly hero, stained by the Demon King's blood, succumbed to darkness. As a result, he killed the remaining heroes. The saint, one of the heroes, used her final strength to send the otherworldly hero back to his original world. None of the heroes who defeated the Demon King ever returned. Soda wondered about this story. He questioned if this battle happened 1,000 years ago. Soda observed the same events in this world. He expressed frustration, sensing something strange. He recalled being blessed by the goddess, believing that even a curse shouldn't have affected him. Soda sits by an ancient book, wondering if its story is true, especially since no one survived to confirm the battle's tale. His doubts grow as he questions whether he truly did what the story implies. With firm resolve, Soda decides he must uncover the truth. He concludes that the Elven country is the nearest place to start. The scene shifts to Karen, who stands in front of a shop, confidently gesturing for Soda to speak with her. She's pleased that Soda wants to chat with an old geezer like her. Karen then asks what Soda needs. Surprised, Soda remarks he's never made such a face before, while Karen invites him to come closer. She suggests they talk slowly in the back. Later, Soda cries out in distress, calling it the worst, but Karen questions if that's true, noting Emilia isn't here, so she made it today. Soda admits the sweets are tasty. Karen shares that Emilia baked them and predicts she'll be a wonderful wife. Soda says he has a question, and Karen, curious, responds with interest as Soda asks about the elves, believing Karen would know. Karen confirms that's correct. She recalls that the Elven country was tough for her to live in. Soda observes that they once traded with other nations, but that stopped suddenly. He wonders if this was when the Tree of Healing nearly passed out, and Karen agrees. Karen explains that back then, trade and immigration were restricted, adding that elves are naturally insular, which likely worsened things. Karen mentions that she heard elves were enslaved long ago. She continues her thought. She specifies it was during the war 1,000 years ago. Soda asks if the other knows about the hero from another world who fell into darkness, realizing it matches the library story. He questions if the tale is true, and Karen says her grandma told her so, though she's heard similar legends often. Soda seems deep in thought, reflecting quietly. Karen recalls that, returning to her point, she had friends from other races. She admits she despised the isolationist Elven country so much that she fled. Karen suggests people should understand each other, Noting that fixating on race prevents this, she observes that elves still hold a grudge against humans, and Soda asks why only humans. Karen explains humans enslaved elves. She notes humans killed the elven hero in the war 1,000 years ago and summoned the otherworldly hero. Karen recounts that the 4th or 5th princess pushed for better relations, but her voice trails off. She reveals they demanded the princess's execution. Soda, shocked, asks if she means Daenerys was killed, while Karen looks surprised, holding a cup. Karen acknowledges Soda's familiarity with the name. She wonders if there's much sentimentality involved. Soda stammers, saying just a little. Karen clarifies that he was spared execution by the king's mercy, but the nobles remained unsatisfied. Karen explains that the princess chose to seal herself in the demon crystal willingly. Soda asks why the nobles opposed it. Karen notes that the princess was the king's child with a maid. She adds that her claim to the throne upset many, and her push for peace with humans likely made things worse. Karen suggests that if Soda visits the Elven Kingdom, he might encounter the princess. Soda, surprised, says, "Is that so?" And Karen teases that he's very reactive today. She mentions the princess remains sealed in a cave, though her sentence should be over, and Soda wonders if the nobles protested again, but Karen doubts that was the reason. Karen ponders what happened, while Soda suggests they'll learn more in the Elven country. She highlights the issue, noting that entering the country is heavily restricted now. Karen admits she's unsure if she can help but offers to write a letter of introduction. Soda reacts with shock, saying, "Really?" Karen boasts that she's a renowned alchemist and tells him to trust her. She confesses, though, that she's uncertain how effective the letter will be. Soda exclaims that Karen's offer is a lifesaver, adding that he'd love to take any chance available. Karen tells him not to get his hopes up, cautioning that he'll feel awkward if it fails, but Soda insists she's already helped with medicine, and he's truly thankful. Karen, flustered by his words, offers him coffee. Soda politely declines. Karen then decides to prepare the letter immediately, noting that time is of the essence, and Soda calls her a true lifesaver. She mentions adding her master's name to the letter to boost its impact. Karen instructs Soda to return tomorrow. Soda thanks her, calling her Karen. Karen brushes it off, asking what's the big deal and calling it an old man's whim. She falls silent for a moment, admitting she's unsure what happened. Karen adds that seeing Soda's expression makes it impossible for her to ignore him. As events unfold, Soda expresses regret to Elmia, apologizing for his behavior. Elmia, startled, exclaims her own name and urgently addresses Mr. Soda. She then asks if something is wrong, noting the frightening expression on Soda's face. Soda responds briefly, admitting his plan to visit the Elven country. Meanwhile, Elmia mentions she heard about it from Karen. Elmia asks if Soda is really going to the land of elves. Soda, surprised, asks what's the matter. Elmia brushes it off, saying it's nothing, but urges Soda to stay safe on his journey. Soda hesitantly acknowledges, sensing Elmia had more to say. Fura apologizes to Soda, explaining the place is closed today. She then recognizes Soda with a familiar tone. Soda asks for a favor, and Fura eagerly inquires about it, checking if it's okay. Fura recalls Soda as the one who purchased the unsold house, surprising Soda, who is caught off guard as Fura asks about the favor. Soda shares that he'll be away for a long time and asks Fura to watch over his house. Fura understands Soda's situation but mentions her other work obligations. Soda offers to pay Fura 2 gold coins monthly, with 10 coins up front, and Fura eagerly accepts, while Soda appreciates the assistance. Fura then asks when Soda will leave, learning it's the next afternoon, which she finds surprisingly soon, and suggests visiting the mansion for the handover. Next, Fura mentions Nilfa, asking if Soda has told her, to which Soda confesses he hasn't and asks why she brings it up. Finally, Soda says goodbye, promising to meet Fura tomorrow. Elbaz reflects on the trip to the Elven Kingdom, calling it another challenging task. Soda thanks Elbaz for his help with the mansion, but Elbaz insists he's the one who should be grateful, then offers Soda a gift. Soda is surprised by the gesture. Elbaz explains that experts will recognize the item as his and says it could be useful in the elf country. Soda hesitates, asking if it's okay to accept it, while Elbaz, citing Soda's role in saving his grandson, says this is his only way to help. Soda disagrees, expressing his own gratitude to Elbaz. Under the twinkling night sky above the building, Soda busies himself with an object on a table. Then Soda savors a special naan curry. He calls the dish tasty, praising its ethnic taste and perfect spice level. Turning away, Soda compliments the chewy naan as an ideal pairing, declaring it the best. Finally, Soda lies down, smiling calmly. Soda moves with vigor, swinging or tossing something. Nilfa notes that Soda seems lively this morning, Fura arrives to collect the key, and Soda greets both Fura and Nilfa. Nilfa shares that Fura told her, asking if Soda is heading to the Elven country, to which Soda simply confirms. Then Nilfa hands Soda an item, saying it's something Master left for him. Soda shows interest in the item, while Nilfa muses that she knew it would be useful someday. Nilfa cautions Soda that the Elven nation's situation is more complicated than he might expect. She warns that something risky could occur, adding a careful note. Then Nilfa assures Soda he'll be okay. Soda responds confidently, mentioning an alchemist's letter of introduction, a city lord's badge, and a guild master's gift. He declares these make him feel unstoppable, standing tall with the items nearby. Fura laughs, saying Soda's behavior is classic, and Nilfa chuckles, agreeing with her. Nilfa wishes Soda well, and he thanks her as they shake hands. Karen holds a sealed envelope, and Soda thanks her. Karen agrees to assist, but says it comes with a condition. She asks if Soda will do her 2 favors, holding up 2 fingers. Soda is surprised to hear about 2 additional letters. Karen explains she has a master in the Elven country, and asks Soda to deliver a letter if he meets him. Elmia, hesitating, offers another item, saying it's hers, and mentions her mother is in the country, asking Soda to deliver a letter if he meets her, to which Soda agrees. Elmia asks if he's certain, and Soda reflects that he's been a burden to Karen, vowing to repay her, while praising Elmia's coffee and prompting Karen to remind him not to forget hers. Soda notices Elena and calls out her name, while Elena responds by addressing him as Mr. Soda. He asks why she's there, and Elena explains she heard about his upcoming trip. Soda then offers her a cookie, displaying a bowl filled with them. Elena proposes trying something with the maid's assistance, holding the cookie bowl as a surprised girl stands behind her. Soda agrees the cookie tastes great. Elena beams, clapping her hands in delight. She urges Soda to make sure he returns. Mealy shouts for Soda to wait, pleading with him to stay a moment. Mealy dashes forward happily, calling out to Mr. Soda. She then shows a flushed, nervous look. Soda joyfully exclaims Mealy-chan. He lets out a surprised hum, and Mealy asks if Elena-chan is there, wondering if they're acquainted. Soda starts to explain, and Elena clarifies that Soda knows her grandpa and that she's close friends with him. Soda notes that this connection is helpful. Elena directly asks Soda if it's true he's leaving town. Soda responds with a hesitant stammer. Mealy tells Elena an item is from her father. Soda, holding a pizza box, exclaims that it's a lifesaver. Mealy pouts, sporting cat ears. Soda announces he'll be away for some time, but vows to return. He gently pats a girl's head. Mealy insists on a promise, saying she'll be waiting. Soda expresses gratitude to both. Mealy says goodbye, and Elena wishes him well, as the 2 girls wave farewell with a horse and rider nearby. As the adventure starts, Soda gallops on horseback, yelling to move forward. A close-up shows his determined eyes. As the journey continues, a sturdy fortress with sentries appears. 2 armored guards stand holding spears. The view expands to display the Elven land, revealing a village and castle tucked among cliffs. As a meeting begins, a shadowy elf seated in a chair asks about a project's status. The same elf, cradling a cat, notes that securing it quickly would yield a major benefit. Tension builds as a night elf wonders if they should abandon hope if the elite team doesn't return, mentioning that several of his men went to investigate but never came back. The shady elf questions the night elf's honor, mocking his knightly title, though he admits his words were a bit sharp. The shady elf then ponders that their absence suggests something is amiss, as rain patters outside a window. As the task advances, a dim tunnel interior comes into focus. An elf knight dashes through it, panting heavily. The knight vows to deliver the information. He presses on through the tunnel, muttering. A close-up catches the knight's chalked eye. As danger grows, the dark tunnel reappears. 3 armored knights lie on the ground, unconscious or hurt. The tunnel reveals a radiant crystal at its core. As the enigma deepens, Daenerys is seen sealed in a crystal or glass case. A close-up shows Daenerys' face, eyes closed, softly murmuring Mr. Soda.